James, the 5th chapter, beginning with the 7th verse. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, and how patient he is for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against each other, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we consider blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. The people James is writing to were facing persecution. Now, they were facing real persecution. They weren't being persecuted because they didn't like the Super Bowl halftime show. They weren't being persecuted because Starbucks put out the wrong color cup for Christmas. They were really being persecuted. Churches were being shut down. Christians were being arrested and imprisoned and beaten. And yes, even killed. And so what does the church do? They pray. And what do they pray for? They pray for Christ to return and fix everything. Now why are they upset? Because he hasn't done it yet. The church is praying for Christ to return. That would be a great thing. And does he even hear their prayers? They wonder. He promised he would return, and all these terrible things are happening to us, and it seems like our prayers aren't being answered. And so James gives the church the advice that they really don't want to hear. Be patient. You ever have somebody ever give you that advice about a situation you're facing? You just need to be patient. Did you ever like to hear that advice about a situation you're facing? Of course not. We want our problems taken care of right now. Be patient. Just wait. I read an article once, though, from one of my daughter's magazines. Now, my daughter did not buy teen magazines with makeup tips or dating tips. My daughter subscribed to Firefighters Monthly. And the article was about patience for firefighters, which is one group I thought should not be too patient. You know, my house is on fire. I don't want them to stand around being patient. I want them to put out the fire. But I asked her about the article, and she said, you know, you've all heard the saying, when everybody runs into the burning building, the firefighters run out. She goes, my chief said he will personally chew out anybody who runs into a burning building. We don't run in, we walk in. Patience. Taking a few seconds to assess the situation before stepping into the danger zone. Vital for firefighters. It's how firefighters survive most situations. But we still don't like patience. I've accepted that advice. Well, you just have to be patient. Things will work out. But I kind of thought that was kind of cheating on the advice part, Well, it means I don't really have anything to tell you. I don't have a solution. So just be patient. See what happens. We don't like patience. We want things solved now. And this can be a problem for the church. A few weeks ago, there was this scare for some people that some preacher in South Africa had said that he had the date of the rapture, and it was towards the end of September. And there were people who quit their jobs so they could be with their family when the rapture came. And I thought, well, now if you're going to be a Christian, you're going to be with them forever afterwards. So why do you need to quit your job for the event? And of course, when the rapture didn't come, when they were sure it would, they were left without a job. Why? Why do people want the rapture to come? And why was they so willing to believe that somebody knows when it's coming? Because that solves everything. For 20 years, every summer, when I went either to be a counselor at our church camp or to take my kids to attend church camp, I would pass this little country church in northern Indiana. Now, it was on this wooded lot. They had a small retention pond in it. First time I drove past, the water was blue and reflected the sunlight. Church was all painted shiny and white. And they had a sign up that said, "Jesus is coming again soon." And over the years, I noticed that the blue water of the pond got covered in weeds and scum. And the edges of the pond got overgrown. And the paint on the church started peeling. And the sign still said, "Jesus is coming again soon." The last time I drove up to the church camp, the pond was gone. It was a swamp. It looked like solid land, but if you look closer, you could tell it was all wetland. If you tried to walk in it, you'd sink. The paint on the church was almost gone, weather beaten. But the sign still said, "Jesus is coming again soon." And I thought, I wonder if they stopped caring for their property because Jesus was coming again soon. Why bother? I graduated from seminary 30 years ago next year. My first year of seminary, I had a colleague come to me, older gentleman. He wanted me to go on his evangelical tour. And I said, "But I've got classes." And he goes, "Don't waste your time with seminary. Jesus is coming again. He'll probably be here before you graduate." I think I made the right choice. But there's still that desire in all of us. to not have to suffer anymore, to not have to put up with the problems of life anymore. And I know that if I knew for sure, absolutely positive, that Christ was coming back before next month, I would not pay my mortgage. Why? What are they going to do? Repossess it after God takes me up into heaven? What do I care? Haven't done that. Not planning on doing that. One of the truths of life and one of the truths of Christianity is that God didn't change the truths of life. And that truth that especially didn't change is that bad stuff happens. Suffering is part of life. There's a line in the movie The Princess Bride, and the main character is talking to the princess and trying to figure out why she gave up on true love when she thought her true love had died. And she goes, it just got too painful. And he says, life is pain. Anyone who tells you differently is selling you something. Now, life is more than pain. But pain is a part of life. And being a Christian does not change that. And anyone tells you that if you believe in God and you become a Christian, you will not suffer again in this life is selling you something. Don't buy it. We know pain is a part of life because Jesus came, among other reasons, to experience the pain that we know as Christians. As an infant, he discovered the discomfort of a dirty diaper. As a child, I am sure that he discovered the pain of falling down on the street and skinning his knees. And I'm sure Mary picked him up and washed off his knees and kissed his forehead and told him it'd be all right, because that's what moms do. As he began his ministry, Jesus fasted for 30 days and understood hunger and thirst. Throughout his ministry, he learned emotional pain of rejection. He suffered physical pain. The most severe pain we can imagine, perhaps more severe than we can even imagine, certainly more than we want to imagine. When he was whipped and beaten and spat upon and mocked and crucified. Why should we expect a life free of pain from a Savior who experienced every pain imaginable? But there is the good news. Most people, when they suffer, at some point or another say, no one has ever been through what I've been going through right now. You ever hear somebody say that? This is the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody. Nobody can understand what am going through. That's not true. expecting to be our second child, our first daughter, at 28 weeks of pregnancy. I learned so many people that I knew and respected had also suffered the loss of a child. It gave me strength. Because I knew that they had not been destroyed by that pain. I knew that they had not lost their faith over that suffering. I knew that they had found a way to carry on, to persevere. And I knew that I could too. There is no suffering that you will face. There is no pain that you will suffer that Christ has not already suffered. Christ knows whatever pain and suffering you face. And this is the most important part, He suffers with you. You don't suffer alone. And He's not just there with you when you're suffering. Now that's a wonderful ministry. You know, a lot of times people don't know how to help someone who's suffering because they don't know what to say. I want to tell you a secret. You don't have to say anything. In fact, sometimes it's best not to. But just being there with someone when they're suffering can be a wonderful gift. I call it the ministry of presence. And I found that it is a gift that God has given to almost every dog on the planet. One of my dogs, way too big to be a lap dog, way too noisy when anytime anybody walks by the house on the other side of the street. Somebody was out at 12:30 last night. I know that because I got woken up. But when I'm down, when I'm depressed, when I'm sad, He will come up to me and He will rest His head either on the sofa or on the bed right next to me and look up at me with the sweetest eyes. And if I don't stop Him, the next thing I know, He's already up there with me, trying to climb into my lap. And it is comforting. He's there with me. He doesn't say anything to help me understand. Whatever you suffer, and you will suffer. It's part of life, and being a Christian doesn't change that. Christ is there with you. He may not have words of comfort to give you, but you can feel His presence, and you can know that you are loved. And the pain becomes bearable. Our final hymn is number 485.